What's up, people? Welcome back to the Cowboys Culture Podcast. We're here talking about some Cowboys content, baby. We're here right after the obliteration of the Giants once again in Week 10.
Yeah, that was Week 10.
But before we get into to all the content that we were wanting to talk about, let's hear from our sponsor once more.
Yeah, shout out to 360 Roofing and Restoration. Commercial and residential roofing needs in DFW. They got you covered.
And I'm you guys are probably wondering, the same sponsor again. Well, when they take you to games, you shout them out, baby.
For sure.
So let's get into it. Steven, what you got for us?
Yeah. Just a flashback to last week. We did sign Martavius Bryant.
Yeah.
So that's good news. And because I'm sure his grandkids are excited. But anyway, moving on from that, and we'll see where that goes. He's on the practice squad right now. I'm sure he has to, get fitted for a cane and all that. So,
saying he's still got some speed. I mean,
they are saying that. So,
speed they call it.
Yeah. So we have CeeDee Lamb, and we have Michael Gallup, and we have Brandon Cooks, and we have Turpin. We're pretty fast at receiver.
Man, even Jalen Brooks is showing
Jalen
out.
Brooks shows up, we're doing well there. But I'm glad we got him on the payroll. So
yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So moving on from Martavius Bryant news, we totally dismantled New York last night. I think everybody and their mama expected that.
Yeah.
We didn't have to play that game, but we did. And we treated it like we needed to treat it. When you play a team like that, hey, don't take them lightly. Drag them up and down that field the best you can. Dak Prescott gave that a go at the tune of 26 for 35, 404 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, took one in himself. He accounted for 5 touchdowns. He did throw a pick. Dak sucks. We know that. But he accounted for 400 yards. He was out there breaking NFC's records. Quarterback rating of 97.2.
I think it was the highest in all of the NFL.
Yeah.
It was like the best performance.
And then his RTG was 138%. So.
And the interesting thing is you can't really say that it was just against the Giants because he had similar performance last week against the best team in the NFL. So.
Yeah, he did. By record, they are the best team in the NFL, and he did. He had almost 400 yards of offense.
Yeah.
Threw a touchdown pass every time you looked at him. We came up short in that one, and hey, we're going to take our licks on that. That's fine. We're going to get another shot at him. We're going to get another shot at him in a place we rarely lose, which is the Death Star in Arlington, Texas. So, just again on Dak. And just the Cowboys in general. I mean, the narrative for the Cowboys is the Cowboys don't win big games. They don't beat good teams. They beat up on lesser teams. Well, that what that does. That may be the case for right now. Okay, for right now, that may be the narrative, and there may be some truth to that. I feel like there's times that we don't get credit. I think we all do. I think we all get. There's times where we. The Jets defense is extremely good when the Eagles lose to them. Mm-hmm. It's just the Jets when we annihilate them 30 to 10.
Speaking of that, I saw a illustration of some quarterbacks that the Jets have played and beat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they beat them, but the quarterback performances when they were playing, it was Josh Allen, Mahomes, I think maybe either Burrow or Lamar.
Well, Hurts.
Hurts. And they were like, they was just terrible quarterback performances. Yeah. And we smoked them.
Dak didn't have any trouble with them.
Yeah.
CD went off that day for like 11 catches and a bunch of yards. We totally dismantled them, which is no big deal because it's just the Jets.
I was going to say, to your point of talking about, that the fact that we dismantle bad teams, and I'm sure you were getting to this, but I'm going to say something that I think too, and losing to good teams. So we've only played 2 good teams, if that's what you're saying, because we just happen to have lost to them.
Well, the Cardinals, of course.
Yeah, and they're great and everything.
Yeah.
But
They won yesterday.
Josh Dobbs.
Yeah.
another guy, Kyler Murray, which
And Josh Dobbs is a Viking.
Well, I know,
play
but I mean,
awesome.
when we played him, we played him,
Yeah.
best quarterback in the league at this
Who?
point.
Let's
Let's
be honest. I mean, because we know Josh Dobbs probably in the MVP conversation. Let's talk about who else might be in a few minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
so
get there.
what I was gonna say is like the Chargers aren't a terrible team. They're that mediocre kind of a little bit above average team. We beat them, and
Yeah.
then the Lions beat them this
and
past week.
apparently
too.
Herbert's better than Dak. So
Well, that's another thing that goes right on cue every time the Cowboys can't beat a good team, and Dak can't outplay a good quarterback. The best quarterback that ever lived was Tom Brady, and the last game Tom Brady ever played, Dak thoroughly embarrassed him. But that narrative, you have a Super Bowl MVP 2 weeks ago in the Rams. Dak went out there and made mincemeat of them, while he struggled to get anything together, and he had his receiver back.
yeah,
And of course our defense handled them, as we are one of the best defenses in the NFL. That's not something that can be argued. But hey, I'll tell you this: if they want to run with that narrative for now, that's fine. We got a long way to go here. If they want to say that there's if it's a 3-horse race, maybe a 4-horse if you include Detroit in the NFC, and we've had our shot at 2 of those and we've kind of blundered them, that's fine. I'll take that. That's okay. But we do what we're supposed to do with these lesser teams, and they don't.
Yeah.
They for whatever reason, the Niners, they went on a skid.
Yeah.
Philadelphia just gets over the finish line week after week after week, and then has lost to a team we've destroyed. Did beat us, fair enough. We all kind of know what that looks like on paper, but we'll take it.
There's no moral victories when the Cowboys win, so there's more.
Sure.
There was somebody was talking about moral victories the other day, and it's a moral victory. I'm like, man, it's just like anytime the Cowboys win a moral victory, it's just like, well, you want a moral victory, you want a real one. It's like,
Right. Yeah.
whatever.
No, that's fine. And it really is. It's fine. It's okay. We got to let this thing play out.
Like you have
So, all I was going to say is we do what good teams do. Good teams, and I think Greg Olson touched on this during the game, but we do what good teams do. We go out there. If it's a lesser team than us, it is a bloodbath. It's an absolute bloodbath. We put you away before the first quarter's even over, and off to the next one, stacking wins. All right, so keep your Niners game. Keep your, outside of Arizona, obviously that right after the Trayvon situation, it was a weird thing. All right, but keep your Niners game. Keep your Philly, loss. They got to come to Dallas where we've won 12 in a row. So yeah, we'll get there. But hey, Dak Prescott played lights out yesterday. Did y'all notice?
Yeah. I mean, he's unbelievable. I mean, and I've known that. I've seen him play like that for years. I've seen him play like that, and for some reason they want to tell us that he's not in that top. That even Ocho Cinco was saying on with Shannon Sharp on their little podcast that they have. That's kind of a beating. He was saying Dak's top 5, and Shannon's up there trying to it's interesting the dynamic that he kind of uses.
They're the same. They're the same as us. They get told to say that, so they say it.
Yeah, but it's like the same dynamic. It's a weird kind of strategy that he uses to make certain quarterbacks seem like they're better than Dak. So you're telling me you're taking Dak over Jared Goff? Absolutely. Today, tomorrow, next week, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 5 years from now, I'm taking Dak over Jared Goff every single day. And then he's like, Lamar Jackson? Dude, Lamar Jackson was good in 2019, and that was it.
Yeah, it's like when Dak's in the conversation, every other quarterback
Then he
instantly becomes like.
Then he had the
Hall of
audacity
Famer.
to talk about C.J. Stroud.
So
Dak was C.J. Stroud as a 4th-round draft pick 6 years ago or 8 years ago before C.J. Stroud was C.J. Stroud.
C.J. Stroud he deserves his recognition for what he's doing as a rookie with a bad organization.
Yeah.
So good for him. But, yeah, he doesn't have the skins on the wall that Dak has. And playing in Houston your whole career, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, you
So,
just got to see if there's any carryover before we start crowning.
So
anyone.
to your point, I'll say, yeah, first of all, Dak, just in case everybody
No one hated Dak. No one hated Dak more than his own franchise fans the year he came out because he wasn't supposed to play. And the golden boy at the time was hurt. And when he was cleared to play and, Garrett decided he was going to keep rolling with the hot hand. I don't know if Garrett made that decision so much as Jerry, but anyway, it's just that's just Dak's career in a nutshell, right? His own fans hated him because Tony Romo wasn't going to come back in and take us to the so-called promised land that he always promised to take us to.
Yeah.
To be fair to him, he never did, but it was apparent that he was getting better and better.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, get rid of this guy. And it's like, he hadn't lost since week 1, so we're just going to kind of key. He hasn't thrown an interception yet, so we're just going to stay with the hot hand. And and from that day on, you got Cowboys fans that hate Dak Prescott for winning all the time, so that he couldn't get out of the way for Romo. So anyway, yeah, that's how Dak's career started. He wasn't getting the flowers that CJ is right now, and CJ deserves them.
Yeah, but my point is what Ocho Cinco was saying, or Chad Johnson,
he's a good entertainer, right?
Yeah, but he had some in this. I agreed because I am a Cowboys fan and I'm a Dak fan, so I was agreeing with what he was saying, and it was an astute observation, which was you can't name 5. You can say Patrick Mahomes just because of the name, but he's really not playing better than Dak Prescott is right now.
Not right now.
You can say Josh Allen because of the name, but Josh Allen isn't playing better than Dak Prescott this year.
Mm-hmm.
You can say Burrow, but he's not. He just lost to C.J. Stroud. He's not playing better than Dak Prescott right now.
Yeah.
So if you take away the 3 big heads, and you could say, well, Jalen Hurts, the game that we played, people want to say that Jalen Hurts had played better than Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Dak played heads and shoulders better than Jalen Hurts in the game that we played last week. And the reason why the Eagles won is because we couldn't punch it in when you had Jalen sitting over there on the sideline. So you could maybe have 1 or 2 quarterbacks above Dak Prescott right now, but Dak, in my opinion, is playing at that top level.
That's what we said at the beginning of the season, is that Dak, just like he was last season, he's playing at the top level that the top guys are playing at right now. He's just not getting any credit. This year, some of the top guys are regressing a little bit, and so Dak is even shining, I think, a little bit more because Dak's playing out of his mind. But
actually, it feels like everyone's scrambling to find someone that's playing better than Dak, so that the Chad Ochocinco's and the Shannon Sharps of the world are running to, C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, it's like this year you're seeing some of the guys that are always in that conversation of like, we don't even need to discuss it. This guy's better than Dak. Those guys are struggling. And Dak is consistently, honestly, playing better week after week.
And you look at the games, right? I mean, like Burrow should have won yesterday, should have beat Houston.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills should not be where they're at.
If Dak does what Burrow did in that game, all ESPN is talking about for this next week is Dak throwing 2 interceptions at the end of that game when he should have put it away, like Burrow did.
Yeah, that's true.
To where if you watch this podcast, you know I love me some Joe Burrow. Go Tigers. You hear me? But, Burrow does throw those 2 interceptions. And at the end of it, it's, boy, Joe fought for this one. He brought him all the way back. They tied the game. He's getting praised in a loss. as to where all Dak does is, and it just comes with, there is no rhyme or reason for it. It comes to being the Dallas Cowboy quarterback and not getting to those mega star games, right? So, which he hasn't, so whatever, but yeah, he is not allowed to be good.
Yeah.
Right.
Dak accidentally steps out of bounds on a 2-point conversion, and that's all you hear about for the next 10 days. Joe Burrow
that is
single-handedly
just
throws the game, and
unbelievable.
everybody's just like, "Oh, it's gonna be all right."
Yeah, I mean,
Joe's-
Cool Joe don't show up till mid-season,
Yeah.
So, I mean, shout out Joe Burrow, the Tiger King. But, speaking of how good Dak is playing, let's get right down to it, man. This dude is playing lights out. I don't care what the final score was in Philadelphia. He outplayed the other guy. He literally doubled his stats. Yesterday was a scrimmage. Dak was just out there on the playground. Mississippi Dak is out there.
And the thing is that, like, we need to preface this with these guys get paid to play too. This is an NFL team. You can't just say like every single freaking person outside of Skip Bayless and freaking Michael Irvin on freaking talk show, whatever, sportscast things or whatever they're called. They'll say, this is a bad team, so you beat up on bad teams.
No,
these guys get paid to play football too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I actually, there are teams that have struggled with the Giants. There's teams that struggle with the Giants with the backup quarterback. There's teams that will continue to struggle with the Giants. Because Dak Prescott woke up yesterday, they got annihilated.
Yeah, and last week when we played the Eagles, who are just world dominators, and yes, we get it, we lost. He pieced them apart. He had
Absolutely.
a career game against
Absolutely.
them. Career game. And then I remember thinking, man, that
Until
that sucks.
this week, he had
I told
another
him
career game.
I was thinking, man, this sucks because, man, is this the best we're seeing of Dak? And he comes out the next week and plays even better. And if you didn't know, 2 weeks ago when we played the Rams and he got sacked like 600 times in the first drive because of O-line issues, he still had a game similar to the one we just saw yesterday.
Yeah. Man, yeah.
And so 3 games in a row he's had, I think it's 4 or 3, at least 3 touchdowns or more with like very few incompletions.
And since San Francisco, I think San Francisco was the turning point for Dak in his mind. Don't want to speak for him, but like it's like he said to himself, that ain't happening again.
Yeah.
This play calling, because that was very lackadaisical play calling,
And you've
very
seen it.
one-dimensional play calling.
That's a good point.
And I still don't think. Here's what's happening.
You've seen it with those audibles, man.
Dak has called himself out of plays.
Yep.
And I've said this on this podcast before. Dak will get the play and say thanks. That'll be the base of that. That's how we'll line up. Sure, that sounds great.
You hear a lot of kills.
Exactly, but I'll determine what we do with this formation.
Yeah.
And we've seen Dak getting out on the edge and making awesome throws.
Man, you've
We've
seen Dak burn the whole play clock and just be like, kill, move the whole team around,
But
and then snap the ball.
but
out.
And then
who's
we've
better?
seen Dak pull it down and take off, which we did not see before San Francisco for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Granted, there's the ankle situation, but
Yeah, I mean, it's like they're finally figuring out how to let Dak play in a system and in a way that he is the best at. And, I mean, like what we're talking about, switching up the play, kill, all that kind of stuff. That's who's better at that right now in the league than Dak.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're seeing it. And one thing I was going to say that I noticed at this game.
That's not a system quarterback.
No.
That's not a system quarterback when you
Yeah, exactly.
That's a system quarterback. A non-system quarterback, a guy that goes and just takes over games, is kill, is pulling the ball down and making something happen himself.
Yeah,
Is
it's the guy who goes like this,
Yeah.
and he while he's doing that, he's telling the team a completely different play.
well, Dak is getting out on the edge and making throws where they used to say, "Oh, Dak on the run, he's going to throw a pick." Now Dak gets out on the edge and he's the best he's looked in a long time.
Yeah.
So
like I haven't seen Dak play like this style of Dak since pre-injury, right?
Yeah.
Leg injury.
And you can never say that Dak is not a deep threat quarterback because that dude. I remember it was either the long throw to Cooks that was like the first one where he barely got that trip or he would have been gone, or it was the one to Cooks in the end zone or the Gallup one in the end zone.
That was a dime.
Where
The
Gallup
Gallup
was
was
I
an
literally-
absolute dime.
I literally was like, I got up out of my chair and was screaming like, this dude is playing out of his mind.
Well,
when you're playing so good, you get those CD coming back to the ball, Dak falling,
Yeah.
and CD. It's just magically caught.
we'll talk about CD.
can
a
I
little
say?
bit.
Okay, I want to say this. Can I say something? I want to say.
Just,
I want to say that I think what we're seeing here is a mixture of two things. Number one, I think that the offense. And there were people that predicted at the beginning of this season that the offense might kind of struggle at the beginning because it's it's new. There's a lot of different changes.
And you get zero slack as the Cowboys.
You don't. But we have definitely seen things seem to have actually come together as an offense.
Yeah.
And if we remember, if our audience will remember from our first couple of episodes,
I only sort of hate Mike McCarthy right now.
yeah, Mike McCarthy, really, I think he's allowing Dak to take more
That's
leadership.
exactly
I personally
right.
think that's
Yeah.
what it is. He's putting his ego to the side.
You're right.
But
Yeah.
if you remember, we talked about from training camp, one of the biggest takeaways we had was Brandon Cooks, CeeDee Lamb, but really Brandon Cooks was utilized a lot.
I told you Brandon
And-
Cooks exists.
and-
I told you
and
he's a real
so
person.
Brandon Cooks did last night did exactly what we saw.
Well, yeah,
him.
what Brandon Cooks was doing last night, that's why I've been so confused. Every single week I've said pretty much like how confused I am and why I don't understand what we're doing. Because Brandon Cooks, that deep ball, that just getting open on those crossing routes, which we saw
yeah,
yesterday.
he looked like CeeDee Lamb.
Those types
at
of
times,
things, they were doing that. They were doing that so often in training camp, and the offense was looking so good. And I think what we saw yesterday was finally our coaching staff and our players are on the same page. They're figuring things out. Also, we're starting to make some changes. You look at the fact that, number one, we're not just giving it to Gallup because he's a high-paid receiver anymore. We're starting to give Tolbert some shots, more chances. Not only that, we're giving playmakers chances. Look at the carries when you look at Pollard versus Dowdle.
You had Brooks out there.
They're pretty
last
much
night.
the same. You got Jalen Brooks. So it's kind of like our coaching staff.
That was a Turpin absence is the reason we saw him.
and Deuce.
Well, yeah,
Deuce,
but what I'm saying is that we're seeing kind of a shift in philosophy whereas I feel like in the past it was more of, it doesn't matter if Pollard's better, Zeke's the higher paid guy. It doesn't matter if Tolbert's better, Gallup makes more money, right? It looks to me like we're actually starting to give our playmakers who are actually, making an impact in the game more opportunities and giving Dak more, giving him more free reign, giving him more slack to do what he wants to do. And man, is he?
Yeah, because
it's
you can
fun to
tell.
watch.
You can tell because Ferguson has clearly become the number 2 target. Right, he's he's the second progression. So, and he will make you pay.
Yeah.
His yak for a tight end is incredible, and he's blossoming into certainly one of the best tight ends in this league, and he's as athletic as all hell. So,
Now the only thing we need is Mozzie to grab his Michigan brother and slap him across the face.
yeah.
Hey, Mozzie,
See,
Mozzie's
he was
fine.
making some-
Mozzie's
he was
doing
making
great.
some plays
He needs to
yesterday.
get that idiot, that redhead. I don't even know if it's red hair, curly headed idiot. Slap him in the face and tell him and wake him up because that kid Schoonmaker is playing like a moron.
Yeah, he's not good. So at the moment, I don't know.
I was excited for Schoonmaker. I'm not gonna. I mean, he's a Cowboy, and he's I'm gonna give him a year, but man, he needs to step it up.
Yeah, he's definitely a rookie. I don't even know that he doesn't play like second round talent.
He's blocking. His blocking's good. He just needs.
This
as a
is
second
this
round
is the
pick-
NFL with a pass happy quarterback.
Yeah,
Catch some balls.
you
man.
got it. You got to do a little bit better at catching the ball. But
Reach across the goal line maybe. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, that guy's not super great. And, and also too, Deuce. Whatever. I feel like I was kind of right on that guy again. Give him a year, I guess. But this dude cannot play in the NFL. I'm sorry. The return stuff, fine. I get nervous every time he's around the football. He's a very, very small person, and small people don't do well with, athletic giants.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean the New York Giants.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about every week. I don't believe that they can find a place for him. Anyway, moving on, as much as I want to talk about Deuce Vaughn. Let's just jump right to it, man. Dak's playing out of his mind. Is he an MVP candidate? Ethan, the answer is yes, of course. Of course Dak Prescott's an MVP candidate, right? I mean, that's not just a hot take, right? We're not being crazy here. Dak Prescott is playing at a level that is not being seen in other towns.
Yeah.
So let's jump into it. Ethan, tell me who rivals him for that award right now.
In my opinion, in these last, because because you can say, oh, it's only been 4 weeks that he's been playing out of his mind like this. Well,
what do you do about week 1 and week 2? What do you do about that?
Well, and another thing is that they were ready to crown Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek as offensive players of the year, and even MVP conversations after 3-4 weeks. Mm-hmm. So now we're mid-season when everybody who in the NFL talks about how November and December are when you play big boy football. That's like the meat of your schedule. That's when hard times come and you have to step it up in time for playoffs, right? And Dak has shown that in November, the dude is just playing. I mean, at least 3 touchdowns a game he's going to throw, and then he might get one with his legs. Or in this past 5 touchdowns, it's crazy. And so, in my opinion, they want to say Lamar because he's playing at a decent. They've gotten some wins and he's at a decent. He's playing at a decent level, but it's just kind of like.
But is he? Is Lamar? Because Lamar's different, right? Lamar's not your prototypical quarterback, and he's good at what he's good at. I do believe that, which is pulling the ball down and taking off with it. But you kind of go back to this, like he's not as good at that position as Dak Prescott is.
Yeah.
No matter what their play
style
style
I get what
is.
you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't think that there is any. I mean, Josh Allen is just like I've talked to you about earlier, and I might have mentioned this just a little bit ago, but Josh Allen, Mahomes, Patrick, they're just not playing as good as Dak Prescott is right now. Any game where you're, I mean, 4 or 5 touchdowns in a game, 3-4 weeks in a row.
I mean, just spreading the ball out and throw. Last night throwing for 404,
200 yards a quarter. It's just like crazy.
Up in the 390s the week previous.
He only played 3 quarters last night.
Yeah, they wouldn't even let him take a snap in the fourth quarter.
To answer your question, there's nobody who is playing as good as Dak Prescott. Are there quarterbacks out there playing good? Sure. C.J. Stroud's playing good. Jared Goff has been playing okay. Brock Purdy played okay yesterday, even though he's been terrible these last 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
but nobody has played as good as Dak Prescott.
I mean, I think like Jacob always points us out, just to play it safe. All right, Patrick Mahomes is doing so much with nothing. Mm-hmm. He literally has Kelsey. That's it.
Well then say about Patrick Mahomes what you would say about Dak Prescott if that was the case. Well, get him more weapons, and
the face of the NFL is always going to get the benefit of the doubt.
But
former MVP, a multiple-time Super Bowl winner.
Yeah, but I'm saying get him more weapons. And he'll be good. Don't just give him default, because if you want to really boil it down to who's playing better, Dak Prescott is playing better.
He is, right. And I said this before we got on the pod. Like, I always think that the MVP is much like the Heisman. One, it's a quarterback award, right? Mm-hmm. Very rarely do we see your Adrian Petersons winning the It's got to be superstardom outside of a quarterback winning it. So, which I think Adrian Peterson won it in like a 2,000-yard season. So it's just got to be astronomical. So being that the case, much like the Heisman, it goes to a winner. It goes to someone who wins a lot of games. And much like the Heisman, it requires a signature win.
Yeah.
Which I think if Dak has any strikes against him, yes, he blows people out all the time. He puts up 400-yard games. He plays like he just doesn't care. He just runs you over. But Jake, he doesn't have that signature win yet, which he's got opportunity for it. We're getting Philly again. We've got Miami. We've got Detroit. We've got some of these high caliber teams where Dak could very much account for that signature regular season win. But because if you moved Tampa Bay's game to this year in the regular season, that's it, right? That's shoo him in. If he stays healthy, he's MVP. When do you think we're going to get that signature win out of Dak? Because I think that's all we're lacking at this point if this production stays up.
Well, yeah, I mean, because if the question is Dak in the MVP conversation, right? Well, obviously,
established.
That's obvious.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure. Yeah.
There's not many, like we've been talking about. There's not many people that are playing at his level consistently, and honestly, he might even be a top 2 guy in that conversation at this point, right?
Yeah. Just him and Mahomes. Right?
Yeah. Because I mean, when I look at the MVP,
you're going to put Lamb up there. They love Lamar. They love him.
But it's like when
thank God Rodgers isn't playing. They'll hand Rodgers the MVP for being the 3rd best quarterback in the NFL. Yeah,
but it's like when you talk about MVP, most valuable player, who is that guy that you put him on? He is a game-changing player at that position, right? I feel like you have to look for guys that, like, if that dude moves to a different team, that team is a Super Bowl contender at that moment, regardless of who they had. That's a Patrick Mahomes. Dak is playing at that level. You cannot include system quarterbacks like Hurts or Purdy at this point. So I don't think anybody, unless they're a hater, can argue with the fact that Dak is a top contender for the MVP race right now. Now, obviously, that could change, but at this point, he is. Now, going to your point, Steven, I agree with you when it comes to winning. There's a difference between being in the conversation and being the MVP.
Yeah, you need that MVP moment, if you will.
To be the MVP, the only knock on Dak, like what you're saying, is we have to have a couple signature wins this season. I think we have had 2 opportunities to do that, right? But honestly, I'm kind of glad that if we were going to get those opportunities, it's going to be later in the season, because that's when I feel like it really, like early in the season, people are figuring things out. Like, I feel like it doesn't carry as much weight.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened in San Francisco, fresh off of beating our tails.
Yeah.
They took a nosedive.
Yeah, but later in the season, I feel like
and Purdy was the shoe in MVP that week.
It's closer to, everybody there's a lot of film on everybody. There's a lot of games that people are more settled in who they are as a team. To get a win in November, December, I feel like has a little bit more weight to it. And so I feel like we have Eagles, Bills, Lions, Miami.
A lot of big ones coming.
Which Miami has been
Detroit.
Miami's been kind of wishy-washy, but
it's a playoff team.
Yeah, but they're a playoff team. But I think that we have more than enough opportunity to for Dak to have that signature win.
I'll say, I was going to say this, to say Dak doesn't have a signature win is just kind of malarkey, in my opinion, because
you're not going to convince the media he has a signature win right now.
Well, Dak doesn't beat good
the voters.
Dak doesn't beat good teams. Dak doesn't beat playoff teams, things like that. First of all, you could say that Dak beat Tom Brady in the playoffs. That's a signature win.
That was a different season.
Right. Oh, you're talking about now.
Yeah, we're talking about this year's MVP
I thought you were
race.
talking about in general.
Yeah, welcome to the conversation, Ethan. So what we're doing here is...
Okay.
Well, let's say this, though.
So this season, you go to L.A., you play the golden boy of the NFL and Justin Herbert, him and Trevor Lawrence, and he's so talented. Then you play... People were saying, he's going to beat the Cowboys because Kellen Moore knows Dan Quinn and played with him, and all of a sudden now they suck. And it's just like, come on, man.
But I think it just goes back to a signature win, as in like the Eagles were a one-loss team when we played them. They had the best record in the NFL. The 49ers are our bugaboo. We're undefeated up to that point.
Yeah, the thing is with some
no
of these
one, no MVP voter is going to. Let's just for instance say, the season ended today. I don't think any MVP voters would go back and go, yeah, but Dak's got that win against the Chargers that was, it's like you're forcing that.
Yeah.
well, it's like, okay.
Well, and the good news is we get to play the Bills, the Dolphins, the Lions, the Seahawks, and the Eagles
again,
up.
right?
Yeah.
So there's a plenty of these so-called signature win opportunities.
And for Dak as the Cowboys quarterback to win this award, you can't. Even though if anybody else beats Herbert or Matthew Stafford,
heck of a
right?
win.
It's a heck of a win. But
Just like
there's
Jared Goff this week.
Yeah, but there's a difference between when you're the Cowboys quarterback and you do that. They're gonna, like we just talked about this at the beginning of the podcast. Those quarterbacks immediately are mid-tier at best, right? The only way that Dak is going to be able to actually win this is if he beats a team that the NFL has already bowed down and worshiped to, like the Eagles, or the 49ers,
or even the Dolphins, because they are the love child of the NFL this year,
or
because of McDaniels.
I mean, the Bills, like, they're kind of on the fence in that regard, or the Lions at this point. But Dak has to break that narrative. He's going to have to beat those types of teams. And I will say this, as far as I'm concerned, and I really think anybody who has eyes and actually watched that Eagles game should say, in reality, Dak played a winning game against the Eagles.
Yeah, of course.
He should have won that game. That was just a really unfortunate situation there, or multiple unfortunate situations there. But the people aren't going to vote like that and say, oh yeah, well, Dak should have won that game. So no, it's not going to count. He lost, right? And so he's going to have to, I really think maybe beat the Eagles and then maybe beat like at least one of the Bills, Lions, or Miami teams to, I think, solidify that.
Yeah, along coupled with continuing to play like he is.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I'll just real quick kind of answer my own question. Dak Prescott is playing like the best quarterback in the NFL right now. If the season ended today, hypothetically, which doesn't count, nobody cares. If you didn't make Dak Prescott the MVP, it is a rigged vote. Moving on from that, Dak as a receiver, number 88, CD Lamb, playing absolutely out of his gourd. All right, this guy is insane, and has been since they claimed he wanted to be traded and everything, and wasn't getting targeted back in the San Francisco time of the schedule. Ever since then, he's just been absolutely nuts. So I'll go through his stats real quick. He got 1 carry for 14 yards and a touchdown. Those are his rushing stats. He did line up as a running back, which he said he was done doing, but he decided to do it anyway and still scored. But as a receiver, he was outplayed by Brandon Cooks yesterday, yardage-wise, which we're happy to see. But CD yesterday, another 11 targets, 151 yards, a touchdown, receiving and rushing. He broke one off for 30. And, yeah, he went 11 for 14, which is we saw the one-handed catch.
Yeah, that's just
it was crazy.
stupid.
The reason he had to catch that one-handed is because his other hand
Was a bit occupied.
was being molested. But he the one-handed catch, it was great. It got everybody going. But
wasn't that Deontay Banks?
that held him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something about CD and getting held and making one-handed catches in Giants games.
This guy has exactly. But he has no business catching a lot of the balls that he does catch, and he just does it anyway.
Like the one, like even
the window is so tight.
Yeah,
and
even the one that was like, maybe it wasn't like even I think it was Greg Olson that said like you have to have strong. Remember the one where he's like going towards the ground like that.
Yeah.
Like you have to. I thought about it and I was like, you do have to have strong hands to like stop that ball and like pull it in and like move your body so that you're like, dude, like that
you
was
don't knock it out
so that
your
the
own
ball
self.
doesn't touch the floor or anything. Like that was crazy, dude.
So I mean, you know, and this is just yet another week like this for him. He is the number one target for Dak. Him and Dak are Greg Olson yesterday, I think, you know, he mentioned, you know, Dak and CD are seeing the game out of the same set of eyes, which I thought was a great analogy. But they're seeing the game out of the same set of eyes right now. If
i.e. that one pass where Dak just went like threw it up like that, and somehow CD caught that ball.
Exactly, came back to it like 10 yards, and you know,
that was just crazy.
The Dak tongue stick of the Jordan stick out. At the top.
It was kind of weird, but
yeah. Oh no, but
it was fitting though.
It was. Look, we can do no wrong right now. Why not? It really felt. You know, I don't want to go back. It felt like 2019 LSU, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. It's just throw it. He's gonna catch it. You know. Yeah. So he's playing lights out. It's so funny that like he took the show over like CD can do.
Yeah.
While Brandon Cooks is out there out receiving him. So you know, thank God we got Brandon Cooks involved. Michael Gallup got a touchdown. It was a Dakota dime. That was just insane, the dime he put on him. Jalen Brooks, Jake Ferguson, another touchdown for him. First Cowboys tight end to have a touchdown in 3 straight weeks since 2011, Jason Witten. Wow. So Jake Ferguson playing lights out, maybe my favorite Cowboy right now.
Ferguson's your favorite Cowboy?
Yeah, and you know, I go through a situation where he is right now, and then he could, you know, I could shift back to CD next week. I think I get excited about it not just being the typical superstars week in and week out. Dak and CD are a monster among monsters, you know. But what I'll say is, it's kind of like I get hung up on Marquise Bell. You know, he's leading the team in tackles. Obviously, Duran. Is anyone else playing it? Is he the best at his? He may be the best Cowboy on certain weeks. You know, he may be the best player on the field in certain weeks. So, and shout out Duran Bland gets another interception this week. He played Tommy DeVito, whoever that is, but you know he'll never be seen again. But the point is these are the people that Dak threw a completion to: Brandon Cooks, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Jalen Brooks, Jake Ferguson, Deuce Vaughn, Jalen Tolbert. He did throw it one time to Schoonmaker, and of course he dropped it. But that's how well he's spreading it out right now. He's seeing the field in a field general type way. This is CD's conversation. I don't want to take it away from him. Does CeeDee Lamb have an argument for Offensive Player of the Year?
Can I raise my hand?
You're up.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the rave that they gave Christian McCaffrey, like I mentioned earlier, and Tyreek Hill,
who can't be trusted to be standing up every week.
The first 2 weeks, or the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season, when they were going absolute ridiculous, everybody's like, Offensive Player of the Year, MVP, they should be there. They're there. Well, these last 4 weeks, where have they been?
Yeah.
And CeeDee Lamb has been
Tyreek?
Unbelievable.
Where you at, Christian McCaffrey?
CeeDee Lamb has been unfreaking believable these last 4 weeks. So, yes. And nobody, again, no receiver, even when, this is the funniest part. Yes, again, let me preface it. Yes, again, we know we lost to the Eagles. In the game where they said that the Cowboys are going to have an issue with A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb had 3 times the yards that he did.
Yeah.
3 times the yards that he did and 2 touchdowns.
That usually happens to the number one receiver when the quarterback has 3 times the yards the other quarterback
was it the Eagles game where he had 2 touchdowns? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dak threw 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. So you know, CeeDee Lamb, nobody is playing at that level. And, I mean, he said it. You know, he said.
Oh, I'm the best receiver in the game.
He said I'm the best.
He's ready. He's ready. You know, so, Jake, who rivals him?
I mean, first off, I definitely think
Tua Tagovailoa won the MVP in like week 3, I think, or won the Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
In week 3.
Well, I think that
Tyreek followed him.
I think he's definitely. You cannot argue with the fact that he's in the conversation. He's playing out of his mind right now, and he's been playing. I mean, it's just gotten to the point where it's like kind of insane the past couple weeks. But he's been playing like this outside of maybe like the 49ers game. He's been lighting people up every week, right?
So answer the question: who's playing better?
So yeah, the people that would be, I don't know if you can say better, but I would say that are in that conversation. Obviously, you got to give it to Tyreek because he's just lighting up the yards.
He's nuts.
And then you got to give it to, I mean, I get it. Christian McCaffrey, it's kind of slowed down a little bit, but he did get injured, and the 49ers went through kind of a little thing there.
Because he's doing his Christian McCaffrey thing. He can't be depended on week in and week out.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, I think that when he's there, he is. I mean, the dude had like a game, and he had like a touchdown in every single game except until like this one. And I'm not sure if he got a touchdown yesterday, but I mean, you got to put him in the conversation. He's been playing. He's been playing really well, and really, there's not any running back that's doing anything close to what he's doing.
It's really those three, right? It's really Tyreek, Christian, and CD.
And as much. And here's the thing: as much as I hate the Eagles.
Okay.
I'm gonna be realistic here. Yeah. AJ Brown has been playing really good too.
Yeah, he has. He didn't play well against us, but
but I think him, CD, Tyreek, and Christian McCaffrey are those that you would say these are the front runners right now.
Okay, so
and
AJ,
right now though, I think that CD has the advantage. I think Tyreek could edge him out. I think Tyreek or Christian McCaffrey has a better chance to edge him out than AJ does. But I do think that CD right now, if he continues, he could very easily be that.
Yeah, so I agree with that. I mean, look, there's going to be another just we can't get the ball to CD for some reason game, right? I mean, it's just too long of a season, and people study tape on him all week long. So there's going to be somebody that figures him out here and there. As to where Tyreek, it seems like he's Tua Tagovailoa is his biggest enemy. But McCaffrey, I don't think he'll win this award this year, even though he's certainly in the conversation. I don't think he just has gotten to a point in a running back's career where, even though this has been his bugaboo ever since he showed up in the NFL in Carolina, but he just cannot play a whole year.
Yeah,
he cannot put together 17 games. But
very, very Tyron Smith-esque.
Right, Tyron Smith, who we've determined doesn't even need to practice anymore.
Yeah.
But
what a guy!
We'd rather him be out of shape than hurt. So I don't know.
What a guy!
But yeah, he has the best job in football now.
Yeah, he's been playing out of his mind too. He's like no practice, no problem.
That dude's going to the Hall of Fame. Yeah. And he's only played like 6 snaps in his life.
Yeah,
but,
he's a dog, man.
But Jake, to your point, man, you're right about these other guys, and AJ here. It kind of goes back to what we were saying about Dak. AJ, who plays lights out week after week, right? But then he plays in a big game against Dallas, and he disappears.
It's true.
And he's playing against a backup corner in that game, right?
Well,
so
and CD said. I mean, again, CD said it best. He said, "I'm the best in the game, and if there's any question, I'll see y'all next week."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what he said.
That's right. So, yeah, I'm
looking forward to that.
Sure, and just to see my just to throw my 2 cents in there. CeeDee Lamb for me is not the offensive player of the year as we sit here right now. I still think Tyreek is. And like you said, Tyreek has a way of getting better all year long. Mm-hmm. But I think if Dak stays on this pace, that means CD stays on this pace. And at the end of that, what are you going to do? I mean, he's going to be the best offensive player outside of any quarterback.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of where I stand right now with it. But I guess we could kind of bring this train to a halt. Again, Dak Prescott playing absolutely insane. Yesterday's game, just man, if you're gonna, you can't help who's on the schedule, right?
Yeah.
Whoever lines up in front of you, take them down, and that's exactly what we did. And we got offensively, we got everyone involved. You know, and real quick before we jump off, I mean, yesterday's defense, I mean, I realize it's Tommy DeVito, or, you know, from Jersey. Is he from Jersey? Did they mention that at all?
I think
Did they mention his parents and the gold chain? All right, so
the gold chain.
so yeah, that dude's dad looked like he's a straight mob boss. So yeah. So anyway, you know, the defense, quiet warriors yesterday. You know, not a lot out of Micah yesterday. No sacks out for Micah. You know, once again, you're just accounting for him at every second. But
dude, there was a play, man. And this happens a few times a game where you see like the play gets snapped,
and here he comes through
like
two
Micah's
people,
like, just
Yeah.
like a bullet, just straight through the offensive line.
yeah.
And somehow
I know what play you're talking. It was late in the game.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, we were gang sacking this dude yesterday. I mean, it got bad for that kid, man. I felt so bad for him. But what a warrior! He stayed in there. He was not you know. Little baby KK and Greg Olson were touched on it. You know, that kid did deserve a pat on the back for, man, he just stood in there and took that all day long.
Yeah.
So shout out Tommy DeVito. This is probably your only internet shout out this week.
Yeah.
So outside of any
Awesome.
Giant podcast. But yeah, just shout out to the defense. Once again, the defense was smothering. 17 obviously is fraudulent. They got some garbage time when we in the fourth quarter when we put all the backups
I want
in.
to say something about this week because I enjoyed you know, these are the kind of games where I honestly, you know, I was doing other things while the game was going on.
Yeah, it was a
my
bore
sister's
fest.
birthday, and we were going out and moving while the game was still going on and everything.
Yeah.
But you know, I still watched it and everything, and I saw everything that happened, and I'm impressed by the stuff that happens. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I do want to, like, I don't want us to get like, oh man, we're unbelievable, you know, like we're the best team.
Because you're not guilty of that.
Because yeah. But like I believe that in a sense, but like I want to see it. Like I want to go out there against the freaking Seahawks and the Lions and the the Eagles and the Dolphins and
get that signature
Bills and just
win.
punch them in the mouth, and like they can't answer us, and we just shut them down. I want to see that.
I believe that game's coming because
These
there's
are
so
fun.
many
These games are
opportunities.
fun to watch, and you get to see CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks and Dak and Micah go crazy, and Duron get a pick and everything.
Just
but
globetrotter games.
I want to do this against like a big team, and I know we can.
Yeah.
I know we can. Well, it's coming.
And also, one thing I'll add to that.
We kind of already have is the unfortunate
Well,
thing.
yeah, but it's not. I mean,
we did it against the Eagles.
I know, but I want to see us do that. Actually, win. Like not just beat them and somehow not like outplay them most of the game and then somehow walk away with less points, but actually beat that team and in a decisive way, which we are capable of doing. And not only that, but I want to see us be able. Another thing. So first off, that's the first thing I want to see, like Ethan was saying. But I want to see us play some good games on the road, because we have been against some good teams too. I mean, it's easy to go to Carolina and beat the Panthers on the road or the Giants, but I want to see us.
Let's hang on and see if that happens.
Go to the road,
Arizona.
Go on the road and play a little bit better, because we are lights out at home. But the road against good teams, that's where we kind of are seeing a little bit of a struggle. So that's something else I want to see as well.
Yeah, I mean, that Rams game.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
We showed up for
but,
that.
But I think
that
that was a home
game.
That was a home game.
Yeah.
I think of the Chargers.
But see, the Chargers even. I mean,
it was a slow
that was
game.
not a what it was with the Rams, and I think it's clear that there's a difference between Cowboys in Dallas and Cowboys not in Dallas.
The Chargers game was that was in LA, because that was when that Chargers super fan went viral.
Yeah, the industry plant.
The industry plant lady. Yeah.
Well, hey, you know,
who's a mother of three.
She did what she had to do.
Yeah.
You got to get famous, baby.
She literally had a Buffalo Wild Wings hat on in like the next game against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And she was like, just going nuts over there.
No, nobody likes the Chargers that much. I mean, don't they? Didn't they play in a soccer stadium they couldn't get anybody to show up for? So no one likes the Chargers that much.
And somehow this lady shows up, and it's just
Philip Rivers doesn't like the Chargers that much. All right, shout out Philip Rivers and his 12 kids. But also, let's wrap it up. I think the Cowboys. We've got some of the best players in the NFL on our team right now. We just discussed that. The Chargers have some of the best fans in the NFL, but we can wrap it up, and I'm looking forward to going on the road and annihilating another one.
Yeah, me too. Well, yeah. Hey, I'll wrap up. Thanks, guys, for watching. If you like the video, just make sure you're subscribing to the channel, but please make sure you're following us on Instagram, okay? Because we are very active on Instagram. We DM a lot of our fans and a lot of our people. We like to hear your comments. Some of them are a bit boneheadish, but hey, that's great. We love it. One of Jacob's friends got on there, and me and him got into a little bit of an argument, and it's awesome.
Shout out Jacob's friend.
David, I believe his name. David, as it were.
David, they call him.
Yeah. But, hey, yeah, make sure you're following us at Cowboys Culture Podcast on Instagram. Make sure you're liking, commenting, subscribing to the YouTube channel. So, we'll see y'all later. Peace.
Later, guys.